He said fans who can't afford streaming services to watch NBA games can still watch highlights. He also quoted saying that the NBA is a highlight sport. I was baffled when I heard it. I thought it was NBA Centel when I read it on Twitter, but it wasn't. It was a real quote from Adam Silver himself. Welcome back to Rivercity Rundown, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we're going to be diving into our very first basketball-focused episode. If you're a Hoops fan, this one is for you. Today, I'm going to go over a few different topics, starting off with the Spurs fan section. If you're in San Antonio, you may have heard San Antonio is going to have a fan section tryout that Victor Wembanyama inspired, and he brought up to Spurs ownership. They were all in. They're going to have a designated section at Frost Bank Center for crazy Spurs fans who are just going to be cheering nonstop, supporting their team, and just getting rowdy and loud like a San Antonian does just about 365 days a year. Also, we're going to be talking about the Spurs and Wemby's outlook and expectations going into 2025. What does this team really hope to achieve? What is considered a success? What do we want to, look back at the end of the season and be happy that we accomplished? As well, we're going to be going over some basketball culture and debates. Who's got the best fan base out there? Which team or city, rather, is best suited and fit for an NBA expansion team? Is it going back to Seattle? Is it going to Las Vegas? We'll get into all of that. And then also, we're going to be talking about Eurobasket. It's going on this whole summer. It's been going on these last few weeks. And it's been really heating up lately. Got to see some great action from stars around the league like Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Alperen Şengün, Lauri Markkanen, among others. So it's been great. Obviously, can't forget Giannis Antetokounmpo has been just tearing things up. And also, with that being the topic, we're going to be talking about where international basketball is headed and the future of that. So I can't wait to get into this. I really want to start with the expectations for Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs as we head into the 2025-2026 season. I think that this year, Victor Wembanyama is an absolute lock for Defensive Player of the Year as long as he plays the minimum games, which I believe is 50 games. He should be an absolute lock to win this award the rest of his career. God forbid there be any injuries or anything that derails his career. Truly, Victor Wembanyama, when it's all said and done, is most likely going to be the greatest defensive player we've ever seen. He's also going to probably have the award named after him, when he retires. I truly don't think that there is a better defender through and through in the league right now. And it's not just blocking shots. As you know, if you've watched the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama throughout his brief career so far, he is not just a paint protector. He is a guy who will go out and guard your best offensive player on the perimeter. He can get plenty of steals in the game. And of course, he's the ultimate paint protector. Obviously, that's just something that is a cherry on top for everything else he does. Just going to be a lock for Defensive Player of the Year. You'd probably lose money if you put money on him to win, in Vegas. He's just going to be the type of guy to where he's consistently the favorite every single year he plays that he's healthy. I would say that if the Spurs have success ultimately this season, and they have immediate success with the additions of Dylan Harper, Carter Bryant, Luke Cornett, Kelly Olynyk, and this team that has just continued to grow and get more in sync with one another, and the chemistry is building year after year, as well as Victor Wembanyama taking the leap to being a top 5, definitely a top 10 player in the league. Stephon Castle is proven Rookie of the Year, and I think he's going to take another leap as well to hopefully become a top 25 player this season. You've got De'Aaron Fox, who I think a lot of people are sleeping on, and they're really not talking about him enough. Spurs fans in particular were coming after De'Aaron Fox and talking about potentially trading him away because we had been blessed with a pick at number 2, and we eventually would get Dylan Harper. People forget that he put up 60 points last season, right before we got him via trade. I just don't understand the idea that where De'Aaron Fox is this guy who's just washed. He's not washed at all. He still has plenty of bounce. He's got so much speed. I just think that it's going to be a full year with him and Wemby, and we're going to really see that chemistry kick in this season. So I'm excited what the Spurs young core has to offer. Led by Victor Wembanyama, I'm expecting big things from Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox. I'm excited to see what Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant can become. I think that Jeremy Sohan and Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson, the guys who have been, on the Spurs roster since 2019, 2020, and so on, these are guys that are going to be able to kind of not be the focal point of this team. They are great role pieces, and I think that should Devin Vassell eventually come off the bench, I think he's going to be a spark that would just ignite the bench. Most bench units can't control him, and I mean, he's a prolific scorer. He takes some of the most difficult shots. I think that his shot chart is among one of the most difficult shot takers and makers in the league. With all this being said, the culmination of it all, getting a full off-season program with one another, having a full season of Mitch Johnson being the head coach, I've got big expectations for the Spurs. With all that being said, I think they're going to be a top 6 team in the West, in the tough Western Conference, with a team like the OKC Thunder, who just steamrolled everybody this past season. A team like the Denver Nuggets, who've got the 2 or 3 time MVP in Nikola Jokic, who's a phenomenal player. They've got a team like the LA Lakers with Luka Doncic also having a full season and off season with the team. They've got a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves and the rising star power of Anthony Edwards and the team around him. You've got the Dallas Mavericks, who, when healthy with an Anthony Davis, obviously add in Cooper Flagg to the mix. You've got Klay Thompson over the summer looking like he is 2018 Klay Thompson from the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, Kyrie Irving is going to be hurt and maybe won't come back towards the end of the year, if at all. They're still going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think that the Spurs are really being slept on, and I'm trying to be unbiased here. I know that my bias can tend to kick in because, again, if you saw my first video, I'm the self-proclaimed #1 Spurs fan. But with all that being said and taken into account, I really think the Spurs are going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think that we're going to not just make the play-in. I think the play-in is too low of an expectation for us. I truly think we avoid the play-in and we go straight into the playoffs. A successful season for the Spurs roster this year is going to look like a little bit of growth and development, but it's not to say that we're going to be a bottom 10 team in the league. I just think that we're going to be a team that, yes, you're going to see some growing pains here and there from our first and second year guys, but I'm not really worried about those guys being a problem for this team and the current roster construction. I see the Spurs bringing in Kelly Olynyk, Luke Cornett. You've got De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama having a full offseason. You still got Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Harrison Barnes, Devin Vassell. I mean, this should be a team, in my opinion, that's going to be competing. I think the Spurs have plenty of firepower this season to keep up with the top 6 teams in the West. The successful season this year would look like Wemby securing his first Defensive Player of the Year, the first of many. As long as he plays the minimum of 50 games this year, I know that he's going to be the favorite to win that. I mean, he's certainly a lock every single year. We've never seen a defensive player like Victor Wembanyama. I truly think that it's not a hot take, but when it's all said and done and he retires from the league, they're going to name the award after him. He's going to have the most Defensive Player of the Year awards given to him. He's a guy who's just such a force on defense. He's somebody who will obviously lock down the paint, but he's going to go out there and guard your best offensive player on the perimeter. He gets steals. He racks up the steals. He is just the best overall defender in the league, and it's not even really close. I know that my personal favorite memories being in San Antonio, where being downtown around April, May, June, and just seeing all the celebration along the in the city, seeing the shirts for sale on the side of the road up Callahan, just seeing all these tents go up with just Spurs gear and Spurs merch, and I loved it. If you're from the city, you know what I'm talking about. I think those days are coming back sooner rather than later. If you're in San Antonio, if you're just a fan of basketball, you've probably heard Victor Wembanyama pitched to the Spurs ownership that he wants us to have a fan section. And what that means is, if you've seen, European basketball games, if you've seen soccer games, they're just nonstop cheering, rooting on their team, just being loud and having that energy and that spark, right? The NBA games have known for being a little bit washed in the sense of, it seems like the real fans have been bought out by the people with more money who are just sitting there on their phones scrolling while the game's going on. So Victor Wembanyama pitched to the Spurs ownership to have a fan section tryout. That's taking place this Sunday, September 14th, between 7 and 9 a.m. at the Frostbank Center. Now, if you were to go and if you were hosting the tryouts, what would you challenge the people who are trying out? Would it be something about the best chant, the best cheer? What would you critique the tryouts on? San Antonio is so passionate about their team. That's one of my favorite things about growing up in San Antonio, is just knowing that we ride and die with the Spurs. If we're up with them. If they're down, we're down with them, and we're going to support them through and through. We may not be blessed to have a professional football team. When it comes to the Spurs, we are ride or die. And at least I can speak for myself and my family and friends. I know that we are ride or die with the Spurs. So I'm excited to see what the fan section tryouts is going to look like. Personally speaking, I will be there. I'm gonna give it a shot and see what's the worst that could happen. I don't get selected, but at least I see what who's the type of people that they're looking for and who's gonna get selected. Now, are you gonna be there? Are you in? And if you were to audition, what would you do? I want to hear about it. Comment below so that way we can all hear what you would do to earn your spot on the fan section. Getting into the next segment, I would like to talk about who's got the best basketball culture. Which fan base is the best? Y'all know my answer right now. My answer is going to be the San Antonio Spurs fans. I mean, we're the rowdiest. We have a championship pedigree. We ride or die with our team. We're loyal. We bring the energy, that Fiesta energy at all times. It doesn't have to even be Fiesta season for us to bring that Fiesta energy. So I'd say the Spurs fans, but there's got to be some other teams that we talk about, right? So when you watch a game on TV, what's that team that you feel through the screen? Some teams that I have to mention here, even though this one hurts me to say it, the OKC Thunder. I mean, if you remember those early 2010 years, and even up to last year's finals, they just have a way of their team being heavily supported by their crowd in the stadium, and they've got the whole stadium freaking wearing blue outs and then white outs, and they're just all wearing their same color shirts. I wish we could do that more often in San Antonio, but maybe the size of the shirts is the problem there. I don't know. I don't want to get into that. I'd say that the Denver Nuggets fans are rowdy and they get into the games and they're very fun to watch and be a part of that atmosphere. I think it's something that would be next level. Knicks fans, I mean, nobody can talk about the Knicks except for their fans. That's the way I see it. They will talk crap about their team, but only they can do that. It's kind of like that relationship you've got with your brother or sister. It's you're going to be bickering and you're going to be giving them hell, but if anyone else does it, oh, we've got a problem. Only we can do that. But I've seen those crazy Knicks fans videos outside the stadium where they're just going crazy after a playoff win. So I think that the top three in my book got to be the Spurs at number one, clearly, right? Number two's got to be OKC, and number three got to be Knicks fans. Again, I want to hear your comments. So comment below which team has the best fan base in your opinion. I'd like to talk about, which city deserves the next NBA team for an expansion. Seattle had the Supersonics ripped from them. I think that OKC is a great place for basketball, but that's not to say that Seattle wasn't thriving with the team. I would love to see basketball return to Seattle, just for the simple fact that it's like that nostalgia, and I think that the Supersonics should make a comeback. I think that a team like Vegas can financially support them. I mean, any sporting event that goes on in Vegas is successful, it seems like, between the boxing matches. You've got the Raiders now there. A lot of things just thriving in Las Vegas right now. And it's always going to be a place where people are at. So I think Vegas would be another cool spot to have an NBA team. But what city are you in? What city are you watching this video from and that you want your team, if you don't already have one, to add a professional NBA team in a potential expansion here in the future? I'm going to share a little bit about how I fell in love with the game of basketball. I can vividly remember being young, being at my great-grandma's house, and when I was young, me and my cousins were always just so close. So we did everything together. We played football together, we played basketball together. And my grandma lived down the street from elementary school. And, we used to go over there to Arnold Elementary and we'd play games. It would be me, my 3 or 4 other cousins versus my uncles and my grandpa. And I say my grandpa, but don't get it twisted. My grandpa was pretty young at the time, at least. He was about 40 to 50. So, he still had a little bit. My uncle is the same way. And it was fun. Those are some of the best times that I can remember, really having that love for basketball, playing with them, finding out the teamwork, who's a ball hog, who likes to pass, what roles everyone fit into, and it was fun. At the same time, in that period of my life, the Spurs were winning. I mean, Spurs were just an absolute dynasty, right? So we won in 99, 03, 05, 07, and 14. Throughout anywhere from 96 to, when I was getting out of high school in 2014, we had already won 5 championships. All I knew was the Spurs being in the playoffs and being one of the better teams and favorites to win it all every single season. I know we didn't win every single year, but we were certainly a favorite to do so. So seeing the way the Spurs operated with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker being led by Greg Popovich, it was easy to get into that team. It felt like we made role players become a better version of themselves. I can just remember role players like Malik Rose. I can remember, obviously, Bruce Bowen. You've got Tiago Splitter. You've got, Patty Mills, Danny Green, just all these guys who were truly great role players and perfect fits on our team. They were just making the game exciting to watch. So that's how I fell in love with basketball. It's been a rough couple of years lately since, things went down in 2018, but I truly believe the Spurs are going to be back better than ever, sooner rather than later. You could take that to the bank. I give you my word. We will be back, and we're going to be pushing for a championship here in less than 3 years. So I'm excited for it. Just a little bit about me and how I fell in love with the game. Now, lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about Eurobasket and the future of international basketball. Now, right now, the 5 best players in the world, in my book, are all international superstars. You've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic, the prior MVP and 2-time champion, Giannis Antetokounmpo, another MVP candidate this past season and a former NBA champion, Luka Doncic, and then in my book you've got Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be firmly in this discussion by this next season. These are guys who, if you put them, each at their respective positions, you get Shai or Luka at the 1 or 2. You've got Giannis at the 3, Jokic at the 4, and Victor at the 5. I mean, tell me who's scoring on this team, who's beating this team. I mean, I couldn't think of a team using other players from the USA or the world that could line up and truly say that they could take this team to 7 games. I think it's time to have the honest conversation that the world has caught up. The world has caught up, but not only have they caught up, they might even be ahead right now. With the guys who were superstars our entire childhood, right? The LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, they're going to be retiring soon. And with that being the case, who's going to take the mantle next for Team USA? I think the NBA is the world's game. It's no longer, an advantage to Team USA. It's a real conversation to be had, and there was conversations and discussions about there potentially being a Team USA versus Team World in the All-Star game to kind of spice things up and help the viewership. I just got to say this. If that does come out to happen, we're going to see a pretty bad beatdown on Team USA. I truly think that it's not going to be close. All these guys are in their prime. They're the best players in the world. We got to give this one to Team World or international players right now. Now, what Eurobasket is something that's going to be a tournament based entirely in Europe, obviously, hence the name Eurobasket. This is a tournament style bracket where these countries get their best players, kind of like the Olympics, and they all compete. You've got guys just, participating with these teams because it means something to them. It's different versus the way that USA players or American players see playing on the Olympics. It took a lot of pep talking from what we've heard. It took a lot of buy-in from the players this past Olympics to want to play for Team USA. Now, whether that was due to external reasons or just not be a part of that, these European players and these international players just don't see it like that. They see it as the highest honor. In fact, if they are selected or they're given the opportunity, it's almost a foregone conclusion that they're going to be a part of that team. And I think that that's something that we would like to see more of the USA model after, because without a shadow of a doubt, Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be putting on for Greece. You've got Nikola Jokic putting on for Serbia. Victor Wembanyama would be there if he wasn't just doing side quests this entire summer. I mean, the guy's been seen hanging out with monks, learning from them, learning from Hakeem Olajuwon, Kevin Garnett, Jamal Crawford. I mean, he's making changes in what San Antonio is doing as a fan base. The guy has just completed every single offseason mission that you could even imagine. So I just think that it says a lot about the character and what it means to them. I think it's inspiring, truly. It's something I wish that Team USA would model after a little bit more. These next generation of Team USA players, it'd be nice for them to try and recruit more American players, up-and-coming players, veteran players to want to be a part of, what it is. Today, in the press conference that Adam Silver had, he was asked about fans who were complaining about not having the funds to buy streaming services. Now, here's what Adam Sandler, here's what Adam Silver had to say about it. He said, fans who can't afford streaming services to watch NBA games can still watch highlights. And he also quoted saying that the NBA is a highlight sport where you can watch these highlights on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc. I was baffled when I heard it. I thought it was NBA Centel when I read it on Twitter, but it wasn't. It was a real quote from Adam Silver himself. The commissioner of the NBA is essentially telling you to go and watch these games highlights, not the actual game. He's proposing you watch highlights of these games because fans are complaining about paying for YouTube TV. When you do buy NBA League Pass, you end up having it blacked out in your area and you can't even see your team's games. It's truly frustrating. I truly feel for the fans of all these teams. Personally, I've bought NBA League Pass And when I bought it, I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna have every single Spurs game. It's a wrap. I'm excited for it, right? I paid it, I think it was $80 for the year or something along those lines, just to find out every single Spurs game was blacked out because it said it's not available to be viewed in my area. Make that make sense. I'm in San freaking Antonio, and I want to watch my San Antonio Spurs play on NBA League Pass, and I couldn't. It was a waste of money. I mean, I was baffled. I didn't know what I even bought it for at that point. For you to not be able to see your favorite teams play on a subscription you pay for through the NBA, I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous to me. So yeah, Adam Silver is essentially proposing that you watch your favorite team's highlights through TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, etc., rather than paying to see the actual game. Now, I will say I do feel for the fans who just want to see their teams play, who just want to see their favorite players play, and they're unable to because you got to have X, Y, and Z subscription, and you know it takes a lot out of you. You shouldn't have to pay for 5 subscriptions just to see your favorite teams play on whichever broadcast they're going to be on that night. You know, so it's unfortunate. RIP to Stream East. I know you were the GOAT for so long, but it's unfortunate, you know, the times we're in. It feels like viewership has really taken the biggest hit. Fan interaction has taken the biggest hit to all of this. This greed is what I would say and call it, because blatantly it's just greed. It's greed, and it's disheartening to see. I know that David Stern was one heck of a guy, but he never would have done all this. So it's just disappointing to see the hands that the league is in right now. It doesn't seem like it's going to be changing anytime soon. So sad day. It was really bad to hear that, you know, Adam Silver actually quoted saying that it's a highlight-driven league, because in my opinion, that's a slap in the face to players, fans, coaches, because he's saying you can essentially get the same product just by looking up clips on these other websites or these other social media sites. Really disappointing to hear from the NBA's commissioner. But hey, you know, that's the times we're in. Disappointing. Unfortunately, nothing's going to change if nothing changes. All right, and that's going to do it for this episode of Rivercity Rundown. I appreciate you sticking with me and listening to the very end. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. If you're feeling generous, give it a rating, a like, a review, share it with a friend who's just as obsessed about hoops as you and I are. We'll run it back soon. Peace.